And hello YouTube, this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'm today with a brand new video for Gaming with GS, and today we're here on Guild Wars 2, and recently I created a new player's beginner's guide for Guild Wars 2, and this video was heavily supported by a lot of you. It seemed to help a lot of people out, and you guys seemed to like it a lot, so I did suggest that I could make a level 80 and beyond guide, and well, here we are today. The level 80 and beyond guide is today's video. Now, if you haven't seen my beginner's guide for Guild Wars 2, go ahead and check that out because there is a lot of content in that video that's worth knowing, and I do go over some things in depth in that video that I'm not going to bother going over again in this video. So in case you want to get a full understanding of everything and you're still kind of new to the game, go ahead and check the beginner's guide out as well, even if you are level 80 now, especially if you're someone who's used the level 80 boost to quickly get to 80, you may want to watch the beginner's guide as well. Now, once you're level 80, the fun really begins. I always felt like Guild Wars 2 has a really fun and really in-depth and very well-developed endgame, and that's what I like about the game so much. I seem to have a lot more fun on level 80 and beyond than I had prior to level 80. Now, most of the game's content is heavily revolved around level 80, which is why it's so easy to get up to max level. They did this on purpose. However, with the many things to do in this game at max level, I still see a lot of people finding it hard to get started on anything, a lot of people getting bored, a lot of people not really knowing what to do, and even some people coming to a point where they quit the game as soon as they get to level 80 because they don't know what to do. And that's kind of a shame because they're missing out on all of the end game content that Guild Wars 2 has to offer, and it is a lot. Now, just like when you first start the game, one of the first things I do when getting to max level is obtaining the essential items. Now, this includes getting max level gathering tools, and these can be bought from any merchant. They'll be blue colored. Also, you want to get some 20 slot inventory bags, which can be bought from the trading post, or you can craft them as well. And you at least want to have rare gear. You at least want to have the yellow quality gear. And once again, this can be bought from the trading post as well. You can also craft this, and you can get a lot of it from world bosses, story missions, and other parts of the game as well. But I do recommend you to at least have yellow gear. Now, essentially, the main goal and one of your first priorities when you get to level 80 is to get yourself exotic gear. Now, if you have the gold for it, go ahead and buy the exotic gear instead of the rare gear. And this will be the orange gear. The main reason why is because it has better stats and it's going to make you a bit more competent in what's coming up. Now, if you don't have enough gold, upgrade your weapon first with the orange kind, the exotic quality, and then start upgrading your armor and trinkets. If you happen to have very little gold and you happen to be very poor, make sure you continue to salvage everything that you get and earn a ton of luck, because that way you can increase your magic find and the chances of you getting exotics as drops tends to be a little higher. Otherwise, you can always farm for gold, which will be easy anyway because a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today, you can get a lot of gold out of, and you can get a lot of yellow gear out of anyway. As long as you know how to dodge, as long as you know how to play your class, yellow gear should be okay though for some of the end game content. But get orange gear as soon as possible. The orange gear really does make a difference, and you want to get that as soon as possible. If you have the gold for it, like I said, just go ahead and buy it. If you have the crafting materials, go ahead and craft it. You can craft the exotic gear as well. Now, what you also would want to take a look at is start looking at runes and sigils for your exotic gear, if you have it. Now, different runes and different sigils synergize with different traits and different builds. If you're playing, you know, a druid or a ranger, or you're playing a heal build, you may want to get some sigils of water, or some, you know, if you want to have extra damage, a sigil of force. So you want to have more accuracy, you may want to get a sigil of accuracy. For more precision. There's lots of different sigils and lots of different runes that give you different stat types, different perks, and different passives. So you want to look through them and see which ones you will like and see which ones synergize very well. Now, be aware that the orange runes and the orange sigils, which is what you want to aim for right now at this point in the game, all we want to aim for is orange things. So the orange runes and sigils, they can only be slotted to orange gear. Don't try to slot this to your rare gear because it's not going to work. The same with rare sigils. If you're going to buy rare gear, get rare sigils and rare runes at least. You can't put orange sigils and runes into yellow gear. It doesn't work like that. Now, as much as earning gold and gearing up to exotics is important, it's also important to ensure that you have all your skills and specializations unlocked from your heroes panel. Now, like I said in the beginner's guide, you wouldn't need to worry about any of this, but now at level 80, you want to start to worry about that. You want to make sure that you have all your skills unlocked and all of your specializations unlocked. This does not include the elite specialization, just your regular specializations. If you still are missing some skills and you're still missing some specializations, use your hero points or complete hero challenges throughout the maps to gain more points. These specializations can make a big difference in a lot of the end game content, and it should be a priority because it does give you some stats and it does give you some extra passives that can make a difference in combat. Now, once you've unlocked all of these, it's best to fully understand your class, it's best to fully understand how your skills work and how they work well together, and it's important to understand how your traits and your specializations synergize with your skills, your weapons, and your choice of runes and sigils. This is how you end up making a really good build. Now, if you're someone who doesn't really know how to make a build, or you feel like this is all way too much for you, you don't really understand the game that much yet, you can always go to an online resource called Meta Battle, and this site is really well done. It has builds for PvP, it has builds for PvE, for raids, for fractals, for dungeons. It pretty much has builds for almost anything. And if you go on that website, you can look up your class and they have example builds for you that are very good. So you can create your own build if you end up doing really well with it, or you can just pick a build from Meta Battle because those are really good as well. Now, when it comes to completing content, all we've pretty much talked about up until this point is how you should have your skills and your specializations and what you should have done and what you should have before you can start some of the endgame content. But when it actually comes to endgame content, you have several routes you can take, and I'll be going over all of these in terms of difficulty. Be aware that this is opinionated. Sometimes you may feel like fractals are easier than dungeons, or you feel like dungeons are harder than fractals, or raids are easier for you. You know, it depends. This is all my opinion only, and I'm going to be going from the easiest to the hardest. However, you don't need to follow this exactly. Now, since you're max level, it's important to have goals. I think this is one of the most important things to have as a person who's level 80. As I mentioned in the previous guide, this game is heavily goal driven, and once you've completed your personal story, which you should have done by now, the game doesn't really push you in a direction anymore. It doesn't really tell you, okay, you should be doing this now. Instead, you sort of have to pick your own route. You can either complete the world and complete every map if you haven't done that yet, and it's actually a good idea to do that because now that you're level 80, you won't face any monsters that you can't beat in the open world. You can pretty much go to every map and complete every map, and this is a great way to gain hero points to max out not only your specializations and skills, but also to gain some progress in maxing out your elite specialization. And this is also a great way to start maxing out your Tyria masteries if you happen to have the Heart of Thorns expansion. Now, your elite specialization basically gives you more skills, it gives you more traits, and your mastery tracks give you special perks for PvE, such as some of these include auto loot, more rewards from fractals, the ability to start legendary crafting journeys, and a lot more. These mastery tracks can be completed through gaining experience throughout Tyria, and pretty much any experience that you get while roaming one of the main Tyria maps goes towards that mastery track. For example, if you want to start leveling up your auto loot, or you want to start the Pact Commander mastery track, anything that you do in the core Tyria maps, which excludes Heart of Thorns maps, and it also includes fractals and dungeons, all that experience will go towards your Tyria mastery tracks. Now, once you've filled that bar up, you'll basically need mastery points to unlock that track, which again can be earned from completing a variety of content in the game, which we'll also go over in this guide as well. Now, if you're not feeling like doing the map constantly, because quite frankly, when I got to level 80, I didn't want to do any more of the map stuff. I wanted to start doing dungeons, fractals, and all that stuff. Don't worry, you don't need to do the map. It's optional. But I do recommend you to at least check out all the world bosses, because now you can participate in all the world bosses, even the high level ones. You also want to check out some of the higher level map events in the Ore region, like the Cursed Shore or Malkor's Leap, or in that area. Both of these options options, either doing meta events and maps or doing world bosses, do give you a lot of loot, gold, and experience, and some of these give you mastery points even as well. There's a ton of content interior to explore. There's mini dungeons, there's jumping puzzles, there's map meta events for every map, and all of these things give you loot, all of them give you experience, and they're also very accessible now. Take advantage of the fact that you're level 80 now and you can explore the world, and basically anything you do is going to benefit you. Anything you do is going to give you experience. So don't feel like, oh, I don't want to do this because I'm not going to get anything. You're going to get something out of everything that you do. So feel free to explore the game, feel free to explore the world, and don't rush. One of the biggest things that I've seen people do is try to rush to get something, and that just makes it not enjoyable very much. It makes it more like a chore. Play the game at a regular basis, and it's not a race to get, your masteries done. It's not a race to get your elite specialization done. Just enjoy the game. Now, if your goal is to go and get your elite specialization, then obviously go for that goal. But don't feel like you have to rush. Just try to go for a goal that you have. Now, if you're seeking for something a bit more challenging and rewarding, you can try out dungeons and fractals. Now, up until this point, you probably have done some dungeons already. In fact, in the beginner's guide, I did mention that you should probably try a few dungeons. However, now that you're level 80, you can do all of the dungeons, and you can pretty much complete all of the paths as well. And you should be able to do them a lot quicker now that you have your level 80, you have all your skills, your specializations, and you have exotic gear, hopefully. Each dungeon does have several paths to clear, and they are aimed towards level 80 characters. They also give you a lot of loot in that dungeon. They give you a pretty good amount of liquid gold, even more gold if you complete the dungeon frequenter achievement, which can be repeated several times, and it does give you, I think, 5 gold. You have to complete 8 dungeon paths, and it gives you a lot of experience as well if you do a ton of these dungeons, because it'll boost your mastery experience up as well. So it's a good idea to do dungeons if you haven't checked them out yet. Now, fractals, on the other hand, also have a good challenging amount of content. I always felt like fractals were a bit harder for me than dungeons. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I did fractals later than dungeons, and by the time I did dungeons, I sort of knew how to play the game a bit more. I felt like fractals always had a lot more mechanics involved. There was always some puzzle solving involved. There were some instabilities you had to overcome. So that's why I sort of felt like it was a bit harder, which is why I'm putting it after dungeons. However, you could try fractals before dungeons. Not a big deal. Now, if you get into fractals and you complete most of the lower scales, the way fractals works is basically a scale from 1 to 100. If you complete some of the lower scales from 1 to 20, they become more difficult as you go higher up the ladder. Now, the higher you climb up the ladder, the more and the better rewards that you'll get, which makes it really rewarding to climb the ladder very high and do some of these higher level fractals. Now, this is a great way to get ascended gear, which is better than exotic gear. You can also get some exotic gear while doing dungeons and fractals, so you don't necessarily need to buy your exotic gear, but it is recommended you get it because there's no saying that you will get the right stats and the right gear for your class. But ascended gear is better than exotic gear, and you will get these from fractals sometimes, and I'll explain a bit more about ascended gear later. It's also key to understand that the higher you go up these fractals, the more agony resistance you will need. Now, agony resistance is basically a stat that's for defense. It's a defense stat, and the higher level you go up these fractals, the more agony resistance you will need for each level. Now, a lot of this agony resistance is earned from completing fractals. Some of it's earned from completing daily fractal achievements, and these can be slotted into your ascended gear. Now, both fractals and dungeons also give you the opportunity to earn skins for your armor and weapons, and they're basically exclusive in those PvE modes. You can't get them from world bosses, and you can't really get them from raids either. Now, you can get these same dungeon skins in PvP and World vs. World from reward tracks, so if you want to do that, you can do that as well. So for the most part, you'll probably want to do dungeons first, since you won't need ascended gear as you do in the higher level fractals to benefit from the required agony resistance. But aside from those activities, you still have World vs. World, and you still have PvP as well. Those are still part of the game. Now, since you're level 80 and you understand your class a bit more, you can actually start participating in PvP and perhaps even start playing ranked. Now, the way ranked works is you basically climb through a series of ranks depending on how well you play and how much you win. This is basically another reward track that rewards you with a badge next to your name, it rewards you with gold, and it can reward you with dyes as well to color your clothes. Now, on top of this, you can also still earn the regular rewards that you get from the normal reward tracks that you can pick that are offered from the PvP menu. Similarly, you can also do World vs. World, and now that you have some better gear and you have all your skills, you'll be a lot more competent, and World vs. World is a bit more suitable for you, especially for the Eternal Battlegrounds, the regular World vs. World, not just the Edge of the Mists, but the regular hardcore World vs. World. You can actually participate in that, and now that you have everything unlocked, you'll be a bit more competent. You can actually, make a difference a bit more. Now, whether you want to be a commander and, call strategies and make plays, or lead an entire squad, or you just want to follow a commander, either of those are fine. You'll learn the maps eventually, and you'll learn strategies eventually. World vs. World has a lot to offer, and it can be a lot of fun, especially if you're in a guild, or if you're just running around alone or with a small group. You can still get a lot of rewards out of it, not to mention you can make some friends as well. Now, if you are getting serious about World vs. World, I do recommend you to go to the server websites or the server TeamSpeak. Each server should have a TeamSpeak or a website at least, and there you can participate in a lot more and learn more about World vs. World, talking to other people who usually play that game mode a lot. And if you don't want to do that, you can simply just go in and follow a tag, follow a commander, and you can be part of killing a bunch of people and capturing keeps and towers, either or. Now, if you're ready to get back into the story, you can always begin the Living World season story as well, if you have those unlocked, or you can always start the Heart of Thorns story as well too. Now, each Living World story gives you loot, gives you mastery points. It's actually one of the best ways to farm for mastery points, and it also gives you a great story that follows the original personal story. The Heart of Thorns story, on the other hand, will take you through the new maps, and it will basically give you another story. It's basically like a second personal story type of thing. It follows Living World Season 2, and each of these maps that it brings you to are a bit harder than the regular maps you're used to in Tyria, but there's a lot to do in these new maps. Whether you like mini games and want to complete all the adventures, or you're an explorer and you want to map complete the areas, or you're an achiever and you want to complete the large number of achievements to fully experience every map and boss, or you just need some gold by participating in the map meta events, there's something to do for pretty much everyone. Now, since you're in the Heart of Thorns maps now too, you'll also notice that you can progress through your Heart of Thorns mastery tracks, which offers perks such as gliding, bonus rewards, ways of traveling through the maps faster, and getting advantages to kill mobs in the area. You'll see that the Tyria mastery track is actually separated from the Heart of Thorns mastery track, which is why I was saying earlier that Dungeons and Fractals will give you experience towards your Tyria mastery track, while everything you do in the Heart of Thorns areas gives you Heart of Thorns experience toward your Heart of Thorns mastery tracks. Now, similarly, you'll need mastery points for Heart of Thorns as well. Those are separated too, and these can be earned very easily from completing achievements and just walking around the map and finding special nodes that give you points. It isn't too difficult, really. I feel like Tyria mastery points are a bit more harder to get because they're heavily tied to achievements. Now, these maps are also great for progressing through your elite specializations because they do give 10 points for each hero challenge you complete, rather than the 1 point that you complete from doing the regular Tyria hero challenges. It's also worth noting that in World vs. World you can get a certain currency. I think it's called heroics, or tokens of heroics, that you can give to a notary person. I forget the exact name of this token right now, but if you do World vs. World, you can actually get tokens that give you hero points as well. So if you need hero points to level up your elite specialization, you can do World vs. World as well, or you can just run through the Heart of Thorns maps and do all these challenges that give you 10 points each, which makes it a bit faster. Now, each of the Heart of Thorns maps also give you skins for your armor and weapons. So if you are into the whole fashion wars in the game, you may want to consider looking at each of these game modes, such as Dungeons and the Fractals and the Heart of Thorns maps. And you also want to make sure you take a look at Dry Top and Silver Wastes, because those also offer a great way to make gold very quickly, and you can also gather mastery points that way and unlock even more skins also. So don't forget about those two areas, because those are fairly good as well. In fact, the Silver Waste chest farm is probably the second best way to make gold after the Auric Basin chest farm, so keep those in mind. These two maps work very similar to the Heart of Thorns maps. There's usually a meta event that you can complete, and they're also a bit harder than the regular Tyria maps, but not as hard as the Heart of Thorns maps. Now, if you're still looking for even more challenging content and you really want to max your character out, and you want to start looking at raids even, you do want to take a look at Ascended Gear. Now, Ascended Gear is heavily recommended for raids, and it should be on your radar as soon as possible. If you're at end game content and you really want to start doing some of the higher level fractals, or you really want to start getting into raids, or if you want your time to be a bit easier in the Heart of Thorns maps, I do recommend getting Ascended Gear. It can take a very long time to make this Ascended Gear, so make sure you start this as soon as possible, because if you're going to craft these, it can take quite a while. If you're sitting on mountains of gold though, you can probably buy your way into making them. Now ascended gear is better than exotic gear, and just like exotic gear, you do want to upgrade your weapons first. However, be aware that while you're playing the game and you're getting login rewards, you are getting laurels, and you are getting badges of honor for playing World vs. World. You're getting fractal relics for playing fractals. You're getting different currencies a lot of the time for doing different types of content, and you can buy some of the ascended trinkets for these currencies. So always check your currencies first to see if you can buy the trinkets first as soon as possible, because the trinkets do make a pretty huge difference compared to the weapons and armor, which you can then craft secondary. You can craft your weapons second, then you can craft your armor third after you get your trinkets, because trinkets are a lot easier to get anyway. But once you have your ascended gear, then you can pretty much participate in raids, or at least if you have some of your ascended gear, you can participate in raids as well. Moving on to raids. Raids are probably the hardest content to complete in the game, and they require lots of time, they require lots of patience, skill, and cooperation with other players, so be aware when you get into this, get ready for a challenge. These instances can be very rewarding, and they can also start on your journey to obtaining legendary armor, and we'll get to legendary stuff in just a second because there are legendary weapons as well. Now if you want to join a raid, or if you want to join a fractal or a dungeon, pretty much the best place to look for anything is in the LFG system. The LFG system has dungeons, fractals, Heart of Thorn maps, and it has raids there, and that's sort of how you want to team up with other players. All the raids can be accessed from the Lion's Arch Aerodrome, and that's basically nearby where the fractals are in Lion's Arch. It's in the southern portion of the map, so just look in the southern area. If you hover your mouse over, you should see fractals and a raid lobby there, and that's sort of where you want to be hanging out if you want to do those two game modes. While on the topic of legendary armor, which requires raid completion, it requires liquid gold, it requires crafting material, and it requires collection completions, legendary weapons can be acquired too. Now it's important to note that legendary stats do not exceed ascended stats, which means that an ascended sword is pretty much the same as a legendary sword. An ascended chest piece pretty much is the same as a legendary chest piece. The stats are the same, the damage is the same, the defense is the same. So you're probably wondering, why would I want to make a legendary armor then? Why would I want to make a legendary weapon then? Well, the difference is that these weapons and these armors, you can basically stat swap. If you want to run a Berserker stat gear or a Berserker weapon, you can switch to Berserker if you're on a Rampager, for example. So you can instantly stat swap whenever you want, which is pretty neat. Also, they offer an awesome skin and look, which make them a lot more appealing and make them stand out. It's basically a way to show off your accomplishment in the game. That's sort of how people have sort of termed these legendary weapons, as a way to brag about how much you've played the game and how dedicated you are. That's what I've seen a lot going around. I still haven't made my legendary weapon yet because, quite frankly, I felt like, you know, ascended armor and ascended gear is pretty much the exact same, so I'm going to build that first. So don't get too crazy about legendary armor or legendary weapons. If you really want to get some of these though because they look really cool, definitely go for it, and you can have that be one of your goals. Now be aware that both legendary weapons and legendary armors do require a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of gold, but it can be very fun to complete as well. In fact, with the Heart of Thorns expansion, you can even go on journeys in a set of missions to get the precursor for your legendary weapon, and that's pretty much the bulk of the hard work anyway. Now still, with all this content in this game, there's still a lot to do. As a level 80 character, you're also now able to acquire rare and valuable materials, and these can be contributed to your guild hall to help build your guild hall and then participate in all the guild missions as well. And remember, before you were not level 80, you were restricted to a lot of the content. You probably couldn't do some of the guild missions because they were too high level. You probably couldn't do some of the dungeons because they were too high level, or some of the world bosses. Now you're level 80, you have no more restrictions or limitations. The only real restriction you have is maybe some of the mastery tracks in the Heart of Thorns maps, and maybe, like if you want to raid, you probably should have ascended gear. But take advantage of the fact that you have no more limitations. You can pretty much do all the guild missions now. You can get a lot of these valuable materials that you can donate to your guild if you have a guild, or you want to build your guild hall, or you want to donate these materials towards your own personal goals, such as ascended gear or ascended weapons or whatever you want to build. Now there's a lot more in the game as well. There are neat little achievements that range from very easy to very difficult in completing collections, and a lot of these earn you very useful gizmos, such as Princess, which is basically a little which is basically a little Karka that eats bloodstone dust, and it gives you back loot. You can also get home instance nodes that can be placed in your home instance, and you can gather these every day. Your friends can also gather them every day if they want to go in with you. And there's even more rare skins as ascended gear, such as unique back pieces, and these also have their own set of missions and steps and collections that make them very unique as well. Now, this still doesn't include any of the live updates that are in the patches every 2 weeks or so. They also don't include the new current events that you can complete, and they also offer more achievement and a small advancement in the story. And it also doesn't include any of the myriad of festivals that come out at specific times throughout the year that offer tons of fun also. Lots of events, lots of cool prizes you can get, items you can get, decorations you can get. Lots of cool stuff happens during festival times in the game. I really enjoy those, and that's a ton of content for you to do as well. And once again, at level 80, you really won't be limited. You can pretty much go into the Halloween dungeon as well. It's level 80 required. So whether you're a hardcore gamer who's looking for a challenge, whether you're a casual gamer who's looking for fun, or if you're someone with a creative mind for decor or fashion, Guild Wars 2's endgame has a ton to offer, I feel like. And if all this seems overwhelming to you, and if you still feel like, oh, there's so much stuff, how am I ever gonna learn all this? Don't feel lost, because I do have a lot of links in the description below that you can go to. Some of them are videos that I've made, some of them are guides I see online, some of them are resources online, and they explain a lot of the different mechanics in the game. They also go over gaining ascended gear, crafting it, completing silver waste, running dungeons, making gold, earning mastery points, and completing your elite specializations. Some of them go over agony resistance, how you can get agony resistance. If you still don't understand fractals that much, some of the links down below do go over fractals a bit more. Like I said, if you're confused about any of this still, or you feel like you still need some help on some of these things, check the description below. There are some links that are very helpful to you, and I think you could benefit from. I also encourage you to subscribe to the channel, because we do cover a lot of Guild Wars 2 content. We have a lot of guides in the channel already, and there's a lot of people on this channel who are subscribed who are very helpful and will always answer any comments below as well. So if you have any questions, leave them down below as well. Hopefully this guide helped you out, as well as the beginner's guide that I made. And if it's anything that I really want you to keep in mind from watching this video, is that you should always have a goal and strive towards completing that goal. If you don't have a goal in the game, yes, it can feel kind of dry, because you're not really sure what you want to do, and that's sort of sucky part. If you don't have a goal, or you don't really know what to do, or you're unaware about the things in the game, that's when people tend to quit. And there's a lot to do in the game. Just be aware of the things that you can do. Try to set a goal for you. Try to accomplish these goals, and try to work towards something. And I guarantee you'll have a lot of fun. There's a lot to complete in Guild Wars 2, and it's more than I can even cover in this video. But with such a great community, the Guild Wars 2 has one of the best communities that I've seen in MMORPGs, and there's a lot of people that are willing to help you. So don't be afraid to ask in map chat or in the comments section for help, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who'll be willing to help you. If you like this video, like them other videos, you can always donate $1 to my Patreon page. Anything as low as that is always very helpful and very much appreciated. All you gotta do is click the card in the top right hand corner of the video, and it'll bring you to the page. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Lots of more relevant content coming in the future. I also have a tutorials channel, music channel, vlogging channel, and advice channel. You want to check that out. Links are in the description as well as on the end card. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching as always, and this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'll be back sooner than you think. Don't go anywhere.